Hi friends, good morning. Welcome back to Faith and Arrow Homestead. My name is Jaylee and today I'm going to teach you how to make cream of chicken soup. The condensed soup that you buy in the cans from the grocery store. It is full of preservatives and it can very easily be made at home. Not only are you controlling what goes in it when you do this, but it is so good for you. And this unlocks a whole new world of from scratch recipes that you'll have the ability to make when you know how to make your own cream of chicken soup. So I just got back from working an overnight shift at the hospital with one of my patients and I'm not ready, but I want to go ahead and get this chicken stock going. So I just immediately turned on the camera because I want this to go all day long. Because the main ingredient in cream of chicken soup is chicken broth, chicken stock, bone broth, whatever you want to call it. And the longer you let it go, the more gelatinous and nutrient-rich, flavorful it's going to be. And so right now it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I want to get this going. So what you need, a stock pot, a heavy bottomed pot, and I've got my chicken right here. It was in the freezer and I took it out. You have to take it out a couple of days in advance if you're going to let it thaw in the fridge because it takes a while. And I'm just going to put that right in here. And then here I've got a couple of carrots and I always leave them pretty chunky. You don't have to like dice them very small or anything. And I'm going to put those in there. And then I've got a couple of onions here that I'm just going to quarter, nothing special. There is no exact amount of vegetable. It depends on what you have, what you're going for. Some people don't add vegetable to their chicken stock. I always just go based off of what I have, and I have carrots and onions. You can also add celery. Now we're going to take our big pot with our chicken and our vegetables over to the sink, and we are going to add enough water to cover everything. So that's not quite halfway filled, almost halfway filled. I'm gonna bring it up to a boil. I'm gonna reduce the temperature to a simmer and I'm gonna let it simmer for 2 hours, somewhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours. I remove the chicken. I have a big cutting board. You're gonna see all of this. I remove all the meat and I put the bones and all the random bits back and I let it simmer all day long. If you watch all of my videos, you are going to see this information twice because this chicken broth that I'm making today, I need it for for the recipes for 2 separate videos. The one today is our cream of chicken soup and I need this chicken broth for something else as well. And I also have a video teaching you, going really in depth on chicken broth. And I'll link that in the description if you really want to learn a lot about making your own chicken broth. So I'm gonna let this go and the next time I see you, we will handle the chicken. All right, here's what I like to do. This chicken has been simmering away for actually a little over 2 hours because I've been busy doing other stuff. So it's definitely ready. You don't want to let it go. I turned it on low, so it's fine. But you don't want to leave it for too long because it will change the texture of the chicken that you're going to eat. So I have my big cutting board here. I've got 2 pairs of tongs. This is how I do it. These are my big tongs. They're actually my husband's. And I like to try and get the body of the chicken. And then I use the smaller ones kind of as supporting tongs. And I try to lift the whole thing out in one go. But it's going to fall apart on you. So I don't usually get it all at once, if I'm being honest. And then I come in and I just kind of fish out the parts that dropped. Now, once you get all your chicken out, you can put your broth right back on the burner. It's already looking so good. This needs to cool because what we're going to do is pick all of the chicken off of the bones and put all the bones and whatnot back. This is way too hot to handle. So that's why, because you could leave this here, you're going to want to put all of that stuff, so it'd be easier to have it here to put all the stuff back in it, but I want to get this back simmering again. So instead of letting it sit here and waiting for it all to cool, I'm just going to go ahead and get this back on the stove. Okay, so what we ended up with, I've got my bowl of chicken here, and then I've got all of the scrap bits that are going to go into the pot. And then here I have the skin. Now, I don't know if you know this, but chicken skin is an excellent source of collagen. It's actually very good for you. And I love it. I always used to pick the skin off of the rotisserie chickens that my mom would buy from the store. And so what I do is, and this one actually, usually they come off in bits. This one came off really well, like in sheets. So I always throw this into my cast iron skillet with a little bit of butter, and I fry it up, and I just eat it like a snack. All of the skin, I pulled all the skin off, and it is so good for you and so delicious. So into the pot, all of our scraps go. And then I want you to add a splash of apple cider vinegar to your broth because this helps pull all of that nutrition out of the bones. This is take 3. I am so determined to get this right. I really want to get this right for you guys. What I'm trying to do, I want to give you the same amount of cream of chicken soup as if you bought a can of it, which is 10 3/4 ounces, which is a little more than a cup. And I want it to be the same consistency as well. So I have to find the perfect ratio of butter, flour, broth, and milk. And so I've been playing around with it, and I thought I had it. So we're going to try this again. 3rd time's the charm. We're doing it. It's happening. So to my skillet, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. All right, I let the butter melt and get a little bubbly before I add my flour. I'm adding 6 tablespoons of flour. No. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're doing this. Don't mess with me. All right, we are adding 6 tablespoons of flour, but I'm going to add them 2 at a time and do some whisking. I really recommend using a whisk for this. Now you can't add the liquid yet because you got to cook out that flour flavor. And so you've got to just kind of scoot this around your pan for a minute or 2 and let it cook. I recommend don't let it sit in one spot for too long because it'll start to burn. Kind of scoot it around. Oh, starts to smell really good, almost like browned butter. Smells so good. So we're good to go ahead and add some liquid. We are going to do 3/4 a cup of chicken broth, but we're not going to put the whole thing in at once. A little bit. And then do some whisking. Every time you add more liquid, you want to whisk, whisk, whisk. This will help your final product become really nice and smooth. Awesome. That's all of the chicken broth. So now we're going to do 3/4 a cup of milk. And just like before, we're not going to put the whole thing at once. Pour a little bit and whisk. Plus the milk, I did not warm up the milk. You can. It probably would be helpful. So it brings down the temperature of the pan. Got to let that come back up to temperature. Oh, that's starting to look so good. Look at that. That was the last little bit of milk. This is looking amazing, and it's smelling really good too. I want to make sure that's all really nice and combined. And yeah, this looks great. The consistency has not been my problem. I think this consistency is perfect. It looks a lot like what you get in the cans at the grocery store, and it'll continue to get even thicker the longer I leave it on the heat. That's great. The problem that I'm having is quantity. So let's go ahead and see. 3rd time is the charm. Let's see if I got the right quantity. Oh my gosh, the consistency of this is just chef's kiss beautiful. You guys, we did it. All right, that is perfect. We did it. Awesome. Okay. A can of cream of chicken soup is 10 3/4 ounces. one cup of the same liquid is 8 ounces. And so we need a cup plus a little more to be a can of cream of chicken soup. And we are a cup plus a little more. This is perfect. And look at that consistency, nice and jiggly, like you would expect from a can of cream of chicken soup. The color is going to be different. Go ahead and get used to that if you're making stuff homemade. They add colors, dyes, and all sorts of icky things to store-bought stuff. I'm completely okay with this being a different color, but God, that's perfect. And this is so much better for you. This is really good stuff. And so the measurements that ended up working, because this is perfect, I'm so happy with this. The measurements that ended up working were 3 tablespoons of butter, 6 tablespoons of flour, 3/4 cup chicken broth, 3/4 cup milk. And that gave us this beautiful cream of chicken soup. Now, usually when I make mine, I only add salt and pepper. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm storing it, if I'm making it ahead of time to store, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm definitely only adding salt and pepper. If I'm making it for a dish, then in the moment, like right as I'm making the dish, then of course I'll add whatever seasonings are going to complement that dish, right? That makes sense. Now for storing this, and this works out because I ended up with a lot of it. Sorry, it is a mess because I have been fooling with this for like an hour now, trying to get this just right for this video. Oh man, I'm looking at this in the light. This is beautiful. I cannot even get over that. All right, so I have another serving, really almost 2 servings here from where I fooled with it trying to get it just right. So I'm gonna show you how I would store this. You cannot can this because you can't can dairy. If you made this with, nope, you really can't can it. I'm trying to think of a situation where you could. I don't think you can. Not safely. And so I freeze mine and it works just fine because you're not usually ever eating cream of chicken soup as a soup. Not usually. You're using it as an ingredient for a dish. And so the consistency coming out, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I usually freeze it and I'm putting it in 1/2 pint jars, and you want to leave room. You've got to give this room to expand in the freezer. So yes, I'm going to store this in the freezer and then just put it in the fridge the night before you're going to use it and it'll thaw. And that is how you make homemade cream of chicken soup, free of all the junk from the grocery store. And it is in glass jars going into my freezer instead of in those nasty cans that we're all trying so hard to avoid. I think I might actually, I am going to use some of this for dinner tonight, but I don't think I need all of this. I think I can actually get a 3rd jar out of this. So that's awesome. It was kind of an accident that I ended up with so much, but it's actually kind of perfect because now I've got 3 servings worth that I'm going to be putting in the freezer, and I will be able to just pull it out. Well, I'm going to have to remember to do it the night before, but pull it out and use it in recipes, and I don't have to buy it from the store. Blech. And I won't have to, which I wouldn't do anyway. I haven't bought it in forever. But I also won't have to make it then and there either, which will be really convenient in the moment, as long as I remember to take it out of the freezer. So very cool. Look at how that looks so good. Doesn't that look so much better than the crap that you buy from the store? Oh, so good. How exciting. I love adding to our repertoire of homesteady things that we know how to make. We are expanding our skills together, you guys, and taking back control of our food. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while we made cream of chicken soup. I can't wait to see you in my next video. Have faith and keep moving forward. Bye, friends.